13 other people on the train going to Prehevil. It's hard to imagine anybody wanting to go here after the war started, but I guess everybody has their reasons. You definitely do. Welcome back to R.E.G, ranking every game. A show where I rank every game I have ever completed. As of right now, I've completed 93 games, so all the games that I rank will be out of 93. But today, very special day, we're only talking about one very special game. And it is very not tonally like this right now, but we're getting the jovial stuff out of the way, so the more dark, scary stuff can come in. But this game comes with a lot of warnings that I feel like I should tell you. First warning, this game will be spoiled in this video. Not the ending, and I try to keep some of it kind of light. The goal is for you to understand the things about this game that are fantastic, but still have enough to go away and play it yourself. I think it's a really great game to play. So with that, I explained the entire intro. Some people, including me, get upset when videos are just a retelling of the game. So trigger warning for those folks, but also understand that I'm doing it for a reason and I feel like it's fair. Also, there's 8 intros to the game, so it's not like you won't get a brand new experience just playing a different character than the one I'm going to talk about. And trigger warning for just about every fear or thing that you might be squeamish about, including racism, substance abuse, domestic abuse, self-harm, and suicide. That might just all be bleeped out, but I hope that you understand what's behind those bleeps. Fear and hunger too. It makes me think about a lot of things. War, art, morals, and being transgender. It juggles all this while letting you pilot your own experience. Very few playthroughs pan out the same way. I remember my first playthrough streaming to my friends and constantly hearing, "Oh, I didn't know that's what that did," or "Oh, I didn't know you could do it like that." And I can confirm that after getting my partner to play about 8 to 10 hours, this ritual continues. The sound of the train rattling has you remembering everything that brought you to this point. Your family has never settled in one place for long. Their devotion to the god Sylvain has dragged them all throughout Europa. You were used to them dedicating their time to a god that you didn't fully understand, but you hated it. You knew their religion was more important to them than their own child was. They even tried to pass down their gift of healing to you, but you saw what it did to them. No gift comes without a price. Every night, they went out to the fields with their masks and cohorts, each day coming back later and later until one day they didn't return. You were only 13, but you had to pick up and move. It was hard on you, but eventually you were able to find some work as a butler for an important man in London. He taught you manners, appreciation for fine arts, and medical practices, and you confirm your suspicions. You cannot cure any symptoms without giving something else in exchange. As time went on, you and his daughter, Elise, grew closer and even started dating. The Baron gave you his blessing, but as you know more than anyone, nothing lasts forever. The war has been beating along for a while now, slowly enveloping neighboring countries until your new home was drafted too. All able-bodied men were drafted and you were included. The war was awful. You saw so many atrocities you wish you could forget, but what kept you going was the thought of Elise and your new family. You knew you could return to them when this was all over. When London finally pulled out of the war, you rushed back home as fast as you could to find a cold, dead manor. Every room left abandoned. You search everywhere for your boss and Elise. As you search the desolate manor, you notice the basement floor cracked open, and your heart sinks. As you descend into the basement, the sight is stomach churning. Blood and limbs and ritual circles all around you, with your dead boss standing in the center with self-inflicted wounds. And behind him lay what's left of Elise. You spend days doing everything you can think of to bring her back to health, but nothing works. You even exchange vital parts of yourself in hopes to bring her back, but it was all in vain. You were too late. Turns out while you were gone, your boss has turned to the occult, and in searching through his notes and documents, the same town name was repeated again and again. Prehevil. Whether in hopes to find answers or just have nowhere else to go, Prehevil is your only destination. Okay, so we made it through the first backstory, one of the 8 backstories that you can choose, and described one of the 14 characters in this game. The character story that I just put you through was the life of Daan. You might be thinking, okay buddy, you just gave the character with the most complicated, depressing backstory to make this game seem bigger than it is. No. Not at all. There are people like Ossa in this game, where you live through an entire arc of his life, learning about his old village, how he had to abandon his family for his own safety, talking about a whole continent of this world that is unexplored by anybody else, Abyssonia, and what it means to be a yellow mage. But that's not all. Honestly, it's barely even scratching the surface. To play through his backstory is to play an entire text-based RPG, basically, where you explore the dungeon of Fear and Hunger itself. You can literally die in Ossa's intro, all before you take a single step into the game of Fear and Hunger 2 itself. You know Ossa has a lot going on when it has an option to skip the intro, but it also has an option for an abridged version. And just to show the dichotomy, there's also Levi. He's among the simplest backstories. I could summate it in just a couple sentences. Originally from Prehevil, his abusive father offs Levi's mom, and Levi is sent to a terrible orphanage. From there, he's recruited at the ripe age of 13 and sent off to war. While he was off at war, he used heroin to cope with the atrocities surrounding him. After the war, he had nowhere else to go, so he returned to his empty shell of a home, prehevil. See, that was easier. As I'm typing this down into my script and reading it now, I'm realizing that while it is less than what's expected from Fear and Hunger, it is still quite a lot, especially emotionally. It's funny to be like, yeah, he was a victim of childhood abuse and watched his own mother get bludgeoned to death, only to be pushed into the hungry cogs of this evil world and spat out with a hankering for heroin. But that's nothing. Every playable character has thought out backstories that plant them firmly into this world. No character feels constructed. They've all lived lives and are just happening to meet up under the worst possible conditions. There are plenty more characters to meet, and I'm sure we will get our chance, but right now, let's check back in with Daan, shall we? After remembering everything you've been through, you are exhausted, and as if commanded by an external force, and assisted by the hum of the train car, you doze off to sleep. You awake in a massive tower overlooking a city, and right above, almost impossibly close, looms the moon, but with a face engraved staring down at you with its empty eyes, and in front of you some sort of jester with a face in permanent snicker. Ah, there you are. He addresses you as if he already knows who you are. He rambles on, talking about impossible subjects. He says he's a servant of the moon, and you have been invited to something beautiful, the festival of Termina. The festival to end all festivals. You don't understand, but it seems like trouble. You don't want any part in this, you say. But he snickers and says, it's no longer a matter of what you want. My master doesn't give options, and neither do I. Your questions will be answered in due time. Just head to the tower, and we will meet under the moonlight. You wake up in an empty train, and it seemed like the train stopped while you were off to sleep. You hurry out of the train to see that it stopped in a forest right outside the city. You can even see what looks like the tower from your dream off in the distance. Everyone from the train was outside looking just as confused and annoyed as you are. You ask around to see if anybody knows what's going on, but no one seems to understand what happened. They say that the train personnel disappeared and no one knows when people will come to fix the train either. With no answers in sight, it's interesting to see how many people are taking things into their own hands. The blonde girl wastes no time and heads into the city on foot. She says she has work to do and heads north. The girl in the overalls seems to think that she might be able to fix the train and get it going again. She heads west. You do learn that it seems like everyone had this dream though. Could it have been due to the situation you were all in? Something you will come to understand even more in the coming days. Here is the point in the game when you can finally start moving around and making your own impactful decisions. Go up with Karen and possibly find a way into the city, or go left with Abella and see if you two could possibly get the train running. I love the way this game expertly feeds you its world. I'm someone who doesn't really like open world games, often because I get direction anxiety. It said decision anxiety, but I had a moment. Pretend I said decision. I'll just take it back. No, I won't. Fuck you. Oh God, no, I will. I am someone who doesn't really like open world games, often because I get decision anxiety with such an open playground. But this is one of the few games that's able to achieve a feeling of open exploration while still guiding me through its two curated paths. On my first playthrough, I was actually playing as Karen and went up because it seemed like the more hidden path. Maybe because I didn't have NPC Karen to show me that this was an option. And we all know that the hidden paths end up with a little treat for noticing, and you head back onto your main path to continue your journey. Well, not quite. I made it fairly far, picking up more and more of the game's mechanics pretty organically, but ended up dying and being sent back to the train. Perfect, I thought. Yes, I lost whatever it was I gained in the first place, but I have information on what's up north and a great opportunity to take the west path. Not only does Fear and Hunger give you limited options off the bat, but it expects you to try both options. Both options have a lot of interesting stuff to explore and are both quote-unquote correct, which as someone with a pre-mentioned decision anxiety feels fantastic. One of the pillars that facilitates this gameplay style is how you're meant to be saving your game. Saving is a resource. You can't save every room even if you wanted to. You have to find a place that you would be able to sleep, and on top of that needs to be somewhere relatively safe. I remember on my first playthrough sleeping in the mayor's house and being just fine, but watching my partner's playthrough, they slept in the exact same spot, got harassed by an NPC and attacked by a nearby priest, and died before they were even able to save at all. Finding places where you can save and it's safe is a very difficult task. You hold on dearly, trying to cling on to each save state, with the moment of seeing an empty bed as daunting as it is relieving. And that's not even counting another huge worry when it comes to saving. Each time you save the game, time passes. Morning to day to night, and you only have 3 days to beat the game. Kind of more like 2.5, so you have to save with caution. Are you sure you've done enough before saving? It's fun to figure out your own balance with this. Yeah, it feels intense and dire, but this world is painful and it makes you feel its pain at every corner. It's not just for the narrative. Playing through the game is fun because of the heightened tension. After finding multiple good items, recruiting members, and even defeating bosses, you know if you die, then it's all the way back to your last save point, losing sometimes hours of work. But when you find that empty bed in what seems like a safe area, and you've done everything you need to, there's no better feeling. But the tension, of course, isn't over. You approach the bed and attempt to sleep, and you sit in agonizing anticipation. Please let this be it. You beg, tired and beaten, and the euphoria you feel as you see the fog of your dream world roll over you, it is unbeatable. I remember on my first playthrough, I had 12 hours. 12 hours. That's crazy. Where I kept working on the same save and dying over and over again, all right before I felt like I had done enough. So much to do and so little time to do it, right? Well, while looping in this stagnation, I realized that while it is very frustrating, I was still having fun, realizing that I was learning new things every single time on how this world works and how I can survive in it. Yes, I kept dying, but now I know how this puzzle works, or that I can get to different areas a lot easier. I realized I could just go explore the world without worrying about when I was going to save, because right now I'm not trying to save. I'm scouting out my mission for future me's to accomplish. After these 12 hours, it only took me another 3 to completely finish the game. I became so familiar with this fantasy city, it felt like my own. I almost didn't even need the map at some point. That's kind of a joke. This map is so bad in this game. It's a bit more complicated than just being bad. It sucks, but it's my favorite usage of a map in any video game. You pick it up at the train right before you set off on your adventure, and when you look at it, it kind of makes no sense. It's a barrage of information, and it's very possible that you never even look at it again. Or you could just never pick it up in the first place. That's also a very possible situation to be in. I recently beat Borderlands 3, and my favorite part about that game was exploring its multiple planets and seeing their take on deserts and swamps. I think they did a fantastic job with both, but when traversing the overworld, I found my eyes glued to the top left of the screen, sometimes not even looking at what I would consider to be the best part of the game. And that's sad. So when I look at Fear and Hunger Termina, I'm happy to see that the map sucks. I'm happy I have to dig through cumbersome menus in order to open it up. I'm happy my fear and sanity dwindles with every second I'm looking at it. This map is a crutch, and this world is hard on the weak. You guys will have to tell me how these segues are doing, because I don't know, this one's kind of funny. The map is great, but only represents the world in simplicity. We're talking about the world now. Did you guys get that? What'd you guys think? Pretty good. Pretty good. Actually, down on foot level, this game is horrifying. The streets are rampant with decaying post-humans and beasts. Some simple flaky skin to horrors the mind can only begin to comprehend. It's hard to be around. The environment itself feels hostile to you. The gothic, sharp architecture, mold-ridden apartments, and of course the towering spire deep within the city, begging you towards it. At first, this is an extremely shocking and disgusting experience, but after time goes on, you notice yourself becoming accustomed to it. I remember the first time I saw the option to saw an enemy's head off. What the fuck? This game is brutal and isn't begging for attention about it either. The option sits there like a couch in your living room. War can change a society, and while this game depicts fantasy, it's still honest as good art should be. And to continue this honesty without even realizing it, you slip into the ripples of this depraved world. You find a purpose for sawing heads, and it instantly becomes second nature. Not a single time do you need to do this. Never is it used as a barrier to continue the game, but you still do it again and again without even thinking twice about it. The world you once saw as a distant evil machine has now welcomed you as its brand new shiny cog. Nearly every enemy in this game was at one point a human, living a somewhat normal life, but got turned into monsters against their will. This brings a sort of sensitivity to the common enemies of this game. You feel bad for them. You were the one who walked into the orphanage and started chopping away at these poor, malformed children. Where else do you expect them to go? You can almost see the pain and fear in their little eyes, but still, they're just another body in your way. Prehevil has changed you, so you kill them off in order to continue your exploration. After a while, it's hard to see it any other way. Never does this game tell you what you're doing is wrong or right. Not to say that this is a lesser game in any way, but Undertale does something very similar, but presents it in a very different way. You killed something? Bad boy. In Fear and Hunger, it's like, oh, you killed an entire homeless encampment? Okay, what the fuck do you want me to do about it? It's hard to not notice Termina's callousness towards direct massacre. But you also could make it all the way through Fear and Hunger without even thinking too much about the mark that you've had on this city. In some ways, on my first playthrough, I really wanted the game to judge me, tell me I was good for sparing everyone I could, or saving the weak, or alternatively punish me for being cruel and pressing the on button to blend the goldfish. But every decision is met with cold indifference. There is one moment in the game that gives you a nudge to the violence you're causing. You're in the Church of Almir, and if you take a step into the confession booth, you are asked for the first time if what you are doing is right. Tell me, what vile and despicable acts have you performed? You tell whoever's on the other side about everything, still in vague language, but finally some honesty to what's been happening. You are causing pain here. There is this tension when you get out of the confession booth, like looking into the mirror for the first time, but alongside that, you actually opened up to another person. Could it have been an actual priest? Or maybe even worse, as the door clicks open, you can't help but hold your breath. It's Ossa. He gets out the other side and essentially laughs at you and fucks off. I love this because it gives you the mirror to see your filthy self and consider if what you're doing is fair, only to laugh at you for even caring. Ossa himself kind of plays an interesting role in this game. It felt like while playing through, he has this knowledge that I didn't. He felt like he was so certain about everything. Some sort of omnipotent being among headless chicken. So for him to be on the other side, it gives a feeling of the world itself laughing at you. The world of Fear and Hunger is immersive and expansive. The power system makes sense and is based off of the gods of this universe, of which also makes sense and is very expanded upon in the game's texts if you're interested. Every character has lived lives and have varying levels of connection to the land that you interact with. It's all very believable. The world of Fear and Hunger is roughly based off of our own. We get some interesting things from this, but we also get the unbelievably unfortunate name Rondon. But it's interesting to see where our histories diverge from real life to the universe of Ossa and Daan. The entire continent of America, for example, has been completely overrun with monsters and has little to no human life. Because of this, World War II didn't end the same way, and this world's Germany ran rampant. They pushed their crimes and eugenics to the absolute maximum, and that's what sets the game up. That's what sets up this Termina festival. I don't don't think the game has one major moral through line that connects everything perfectly, but if you asked me to reduce this game down and give you one big thing, I would say this is a game about the effects of war. Most of the game is very overt about their view of poor people during war times and the violence that everything brings, but what might sit under your nose is the god R.E.G and his connection to this idea. The festival of Termina is set up by this moon god. He's also responsible for the transformations of the residents of the city, and the transformations these people go through is called moon scorching. When someone moon scorches, it's said that everything they wish to keep hidden comes out, or their insecurities, and slight differences depending on who you ask, but ultimately a very similar takeaway. It's interesting that in this war-stricken world, the only thing that keeps you from becoming a horrifying monster is keeping your insecurities under wraps. Obviously some other stuff as well, you know, the moon is kinda your biggest op, but yeah. I think the creator is trying to show you how pathetic it is to be at the receiving end of someone else's insecurities. Insecurities that they couldn't deal with themselves. If you look back at many past warmongers, there's many insecurities that are associated. There's a reason we call it a Napoleon complex, and Hitler ethnically cleansed for a master race he wasn't even a part of. It's as pathetic as it is horrifying. It's obviously a little bit different here. I do see a lot of these moon scorches as major victims instead of being anything else, but still an interesting through line. If you play through the 3 days, just about every contestant will eventually moon scorch. In a game brimming with artistic expression, I feel like this is probably the most fructuous well. Knowing what moon scorching represents, looking at these designs for the first time feels half like staring into an open wound and half like seeing them truly for the first time. It's deeply unsettling and invasive. That being said, let's talk about Olivia. Olivia was born into prehevil, I think that's how you pronounce it. It's the world's Germany, alongside her sister. They are twins. Her sister's name is
R.E.G,
and she seems to be the perfect version of Olivia. Olivia was very smart, but R.E.G was smarter. R.E.G was also very popular and kind. Because of this, she had so many connections. To Olivia, it feels like she's been left in the dust by her more successful twin. And another thing that Olivia detests about her sister is her able body. Around high school, Olivia had to start using a wheelchair, and it was the worst thing that could happen to her. Her perfect sister even tried to beg their parents to get treatment, but their religious parents stuck to the thoughts and prayers method. So Olivia, at the time of this game, is still using a wheelchair. This is the first time I've played a video game where you play as a wheelchair user. Genuinely, I didn't think much about it until many months later when I got really into Magic the Gathering, funny enough. This is a weird side tangent, so just be ready. But I was watching Spice8Rack, a Magic the Gathering YouTuber, complaining that none of the survivors of Duskmoor used a wheelchair. If what I'm saying doesn't make sense, that's okay, but it was basically calling for more representation for disability. I immediately didn't take it seriously at all. I thought it was stupid. Imagine if they made a wheelchair character in Magic. God, it would be so forced. But then I thought about Fear and Hunger 2 and Olivia. Not one time before this did I feel like Olivia using a wheelchair was only there to fit some minority spot. She suffered a bunch of strokes and it messed up her spine. It makes perfect sense that she uses one. Also, back to the magic thing, there's also R.E.G, which I just didn't even think about at all for some reason. And I never felt like him having a wheelchair was forced. He's a goblin who uses a stone wheelchair. And I was just like, yeah, that's chill. I think I was just genuinely being unfair about the forcing. Yeah, so take it from me. Try to take, representation talks a little bit more seriously, because a lot of the time people put representation in your media, you kind of don't even realize it because they're just well-written characters. I also just think it's weird to see a wheelchair and immediately start wondering if it was forced to fit some inclusivity thing. It's very dehumanizing to the people who use them. But that being said, I think Olivia is treated so well in this universe. Not in this universe, in the game's writing, I should say. The world is awful no matter who you are or what you have to deal with. Moving around as Olivia is harder given that she uses a wheelchair. It's not unrealistic, and it's even giving credit to people who struggle with this. Where are my wheelchairers at? I bet y'all hate the fucking stairs too. I bet fire drills were the worst shit ever. I don't know why, but that's what I thought of immediately. I'm very uninformed about the struggles of using a wheelchair. But on a very surface level, I'm talking like water skeeter level of depth, I can kind of understand that the world is just more difficult for you. So given all of these realizations I've made about Olivia's character and humanization in general, I'm pretty excited to see how moon scorching works for her. And on top of that, I've been hearing rumblings about how good hers is in particular. I'm so excited to see it. I saw some characters' moon scorches already and was already a really big fan, so I had high hopes. This is the mechanical dance. While it is horrifying and the message is clear, it reflects what people see in Olivia to the point that she sees herself the same way. I was disappointed. I felt like the most interesting part of Olivia's character was her relationship and envy for her twin sister. But when you and others around you only see the metal you ride on top of, even envy makes you human. She has become a mechanical killing machine, with her whole lower half morphing into metal and vents, her arms becoming long, sharp poles mirroring crutches, and saying that all her hands are good for is harm. Of course, her face sanded down and unrecognizable. This isn't a human, it's a fortified mechanism. The way I look at the art of this game is unlike any other game I've ever played. Each enemy I see, I think about what they were before their moon sickness, and what their transformation is revealing about them. Miro, the artist and solo creator of this game, has an art style that I really love. Let's look at the title screen. To me, this is a perfect title screen. It lets you know the grim and mysterious tone this game takes, and despite the image not changing throughout the game, you make realizations that change what the message is conveying. After the train intro, you can recognize at least two of the characters, Levi and Marina, and it looks like Marina has given in to the festival. We haven't talked about her too much, but we will very soon. Other than that, you can see a mysterious hooded figure behind them, the title screen, and behind it, the moon that you saw in your dreams. But after the events of the game, coming back to this title screen is a completely different feeling. Levi is dead, but it doesn't look like Marina was the one who caused this. Her blade is completely dry. It looks like she's protecting him, and given her eye and missing limb, might even have been trying to take a note from Daan's book. Of course, you become a lot more familiar with the right half of this piece as well, and even beyond the story laid out, this is just a dope piece of art. I love the color palette, so washed out. It reminds me of those old color pictures where you can barely even tell that there's any color in it at all. The bright yellows feel unnatural and highlight the power that this moon has and the importance of the figure below it. And it's of course balanced out with Levi's yellow jumpsuit, but much more diluted, showing his waning life. My favorite thing about this cover is how representative it is to the style of this entire game. The color palette continues in different ways. The beautiful ornate gate shows the fine details, and the skulls mixed with these flowers is a great representation of the mix of beauty and horror this game has to offer. The art is a great representation, but this game's art obviously goes beyond just this one title screen. I'm sure you've noticed, but this game has a very thorough identity. Let's talk about the characters. Everyone's clothes fit into this universe so well. The jumpsuit of the veteran, the frills of royalty, and the overalls of an engineer. Even their names feel stylized to fit this world. Pav, Daan with 2 A's, Abella, and R.E.G. What? No, that's just Portuguese. Sorry. Go back. Henrique. No, there we go. Sorry. R.E.G. No. Henrique. Same name, different dialects, kind of. Whatever. Back to it. And that's just the humans. The writing in this game has a dry hatred that makes the world feel extremely unwelcoming. Like the world is narrated by one of the gods who truly doesn't care whether you live or die from any dangerous situation. Simple descriptions of some of the worst horrors you've ever seen. But like everything in this game can bend to be pretty and comforting. If you save Daan and take him into one of the safe houses, he can make you mixed drinks. This is an example of that. Each drink you order has a long explanation describing the smell notes and the mouthfeel, and it brings you back to reality. You might know how these drinks taste, and the descriptions can ground you to this moment. Not everything needs to be cutthroat. You can experience beauty. I would even argue having these beautiful descriptions make this game feel more real and scary. You can imagine these drinks through the descriptions just as well as you can imagine any torture that this game wants to put you through. The last piece of art that holds all of this together is the music. And oh my god, what a choice. The music is harrowing. If it's not the beautiful, dark orchestral piece, then it's these weird Frankenstein tracks. It seems to stitch completely different songs together, usually inducing some sort of small jump scare, when one track clashes with the screaming or loud drums of another. When I was watching my partner play, I was trying not to interrupt too often, let them make all the decisions that they can themselves. But after they killed August for seemingly no reason, I asked why they felt like they had to do that. And they said that it just felt right because of the change in the music. And to be completely honest, I totally get it. Just like any video I make, we gotta talk about the queerness of it all. There's some fan theories out there about a couple of characters being gay, or even one famous one that's like a throuple. There's like a famous ship throuple between Pav, Marco, and Tanaka. I'm pretty sure this is a joke, so I'll try not to take it too seriously, but it does feel very fanfic to me. But there is one character that is legitimately transgender in canon though. A fun thing about this game is you can get through the entire thing like me, completely oblivious to the fact that anybody here is queer. Or it could be literally the very first thing you learn about in the entire game. Marina was born a boy under a loving mother and domineering father. The father is a dark priest of the Church of Almir in Prehevil. When a son is born under a dark priest, he is meant to usurp the spot when he's old enough. Marina's mother saw what being a dark priest meant for her child's father and did not want it for her newborn. So she made a decision. She would raise her kid as a woman in order to protect her from her father's priesthood. So Marina is a woman. This isn't exactly a typical transition story you might be used to hearing. It wasn't born from a self-understanding, but instead an inflicted decision. There are some signs that she's uncomfortable with the body she was born in compared to her presentation, but honestly, besides just her identity, there's not much that a trans person could identify with beyond that. But sometimes transness is enough. Let's talk about the most hidden contestant of the festival, Sam.R.E. Sam.R.E. is a very gifted dark priest apprentice. In school, she was noticed for her ability and inducted into a small group of students who would enter more rigorous training. It came at a cost though. Sam.R.E.'s body was deteriorating rapidly despite her young age, and her lifespan would be cut down drastically. Her mind could barely keep up with any image that she might have of herself. Her body was decaying right under her nose. And when she sees Marina at her school, she falls in love with her and becomes sort of obsessed. I won't tell you how everything plays out, but Sam.R.E. follows Marina to Prehevil. I think you could take this information as well as her moonscorch being called dysmorphia and say that Sam.R.E. is also a trans woman. I personally don't think so. Now just pause for a second. This is going to be Cis Man Explains Dating as a Trans Woman, so just prepare yourself for that. Okay. When you're an openly transgender person who is dating, it often attracts people who are in love with your expression of gender, less so in you as an individual. The dysmorphic might be courting you as a sort of sign to see if your lifestyle is something that they can resonate with. And in some cases, they might even be looking to you for guidance in this world of expression that they don't understand. Sometimes seeking out a trans person to date can be selfish. It's unfair to their feelings for you to see them as your own self-discovery. I think this is more so what is happening here. Sam.R.E. hates her body and experiences unmatched dysmorphia. She assumes that Marina does as well. To me, it seems like she's looking for a kinship instead of actually in love with Marina as the person that is Marina. Instead, she's kind of just in love with her transness. At one point, depending on your actions playing as Marina, Sam.R.E. will confess her love to you. And as Marina, you have no response. It's awkward. It's creepy. Before this, you guys haven't even shared a conversation. I feel like trans people have been through situations like this enough to understand what's happening. This particular case is one of the dysmorphic and the confident, not of two trans women sharing their understanding of dysmorphia together. You might be thinking, wow, Shiroberry, de-transing my favorite trans character, how unwoke of you. No bitch, I'm just on a transcendent level of woke you can only comprehend. The story between Sam.R.E. and Marina is still a very queer story, but in my opinion, a cautionary tale more than a love story. Fear and Hunger 2 Termina is a game that can only really be made by one guy and his thoughts about the world. His world is alive alongside his characters and all painted in such beautiful strokes. There is still so much that I didn't talk about in this video, and I'm hoping that if you liked this video, you can check out the game yourself. It's genuinely one of my favorites. Fear and Hunger 2 is a 10 with an asterisk and ranks number 3 out of 93 on the R.E.G list. This video, if you couldn't tell, was a lot more intense than my usual R.E.G video, and I most likely won't be making another super long in-depth one like this anytime soon, unless this video really blows up. So you can take this as an opportunity to support this video, and I think if you made it this far, you should. I think I deserve it. Just saying. Maybe a like, maybe a comment. Tell me your favorite Fear and Hunger character, and try to sell me on playing the first game. I still haven't played it. Seems kind of crazy. Okay, bye.